Okay, then now we're gonna go live on Skype for you. I mean Instagram soon. Give me a sec. Dave, how are you today?
Hi, hey, how are you?
I'm really good.
Good.
We're gonna talk
Considering
about
everything, I guess. Are you in
yes.
New York?
No, I'm in California, in Northern
Oh, okay,
California.
okay. I had it wrong. For some reason I thought you were in New York.
No, we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff today. We're gonna talk about your book, MDC, and later on we have question and answers from different people and stuff.
Okay.
But before we start the interview, how are you doing? How are you handling all this lockdown?
You know, I feel really terrible about what's going on, in the world, and it's like I guess all of us are vindicated that the person who's the president of the United States is not the right person for the job. He's a narcissist and so self-involved. He can't feel anyone's pain. There's some, I'm sure some very big psychological word for him, megalomaniac, and just people don't have any feelings towards other people. I've heard him say, he can't talk. He can't really say he feels bad for the people.
Hmm.
He just can't get it out of his mouth before he starts to tell you how good he's doing and what a great job he's doing. Uh, so we got a commander in chief, and it's been this way for almost 3 years, 7 months. It's a really scary situation, that we're all in. We're watching wildlife just get
Hmm.
minimized down to the last of the rainforest, and you're watching orangutans die. We're watching, I read something like 60% of wildlife has been reduced in the last 20 years.
Wow.
That's an incredible statistic. That means the third world is tearing up all their forests, and they're chopping things down, and they want to live like Americans. So that means starting farms where forests used to be, so they can grow meat. And still, the population is very hungry. I think right now it's very hungry. The things are just people aren't able to earn money,
Hmm.
and you have a country like India with a billion 500,000 people, and tiny countries like Bangladesh with 80 million people, and when they can't work, it's really horrible. And I think people in this country, children, are going to bed hungry at night because they're not at school getting their one or two free school lunches. And if people can't work, how can they survive? And I'm kind of lucky where my child has grown up, and
Oh,
I have not that too many responsibilities. So for me to get uh, some jars of peanut butter and some toast and some jam, I'm okay. But I really think this whole thing in the world is causing a lot of suffering.
hmm.
And never mind, homeless people. Uh, there are some homeless people where I live in Portland who live down by the creek, and they're diarrhea and sick, and it's horrible. My roommates are there. I'm here in Austin, Texas, right now, where you're recording this, and a lot of people just are hurting. They already were hurting, and now they're hurting even worse. On the good part is the less pollution going down. I hear wildlife that is out there is flourishing because humans are staying in. I saw pictures of whales and dolphins and that kind of thing making a real comeback just in weeks. Enjoying nature. Uh, so I'm really happy for that, but I'm really sad for all the pain it's caused and the terrible leadership of the United States of America. It's just affecting the whole world, infecting people in this country, and and there's a big election coming up, so hopefully he's going to get his comeuppance.
Dave, since you're a musician, are the musicians getting unemployment? Can you get
No,
unemployment?
I do not get unemployment. I am self-employed,
Uh-huh.
and I don't, I I have not filed for unemployment. I don't think it's even possible
Okay.
when you're self-employed like I am. It's almost like I'm a small business person. Now could I apply for a small business loan? Maybe I could, or I am hoping to get that $1,200 check that everyone else is getting.
Okay. All right. All right, Dave. We're gonna start the MDC interview. Before we start the interview, I need to ask you this. This 7-inch right here, is this the it's my friend, actually my friend Ron, Crazy Ron from the league. He passed away a while back, but his brother gave it to me. Is this the original print?
That picture?
Yeah, the vinyl too. The vinyl has a orange, it has a big hole.
Oh wow, so that's old school, huh? Yeah, I got one. I got one right here. Let me whip it out.
This is the original one that I have, right?
Oh yeah, I think so.
It's
I was going to compare and see
backwards.
and compare, and here I've got a new one.
Is that
I've got
the
a
one
new
you have?
new one
Is that,
here, and if you open it up, and you're right, it does have. Uh, that's back when they had 45 holes. I guess they still do, but that came out in 1983,
uh-huh.
and it came out in England as well. It
On,
was put
Crash-
out on Crash Records, and I was really happy that we met Crash, and they agreed to put it out. He had some gory pictures. Back in the day, I was very. I started out very political. I was politically aware of things. Uh, growing up in high school, they had the Vietnam War going on. My whole high school marched out during Kent State after protesters were killed by National Guardsmen at Kent State. And I wasn't very political at the time, but some kids started walking out, and I was like, all right, let's walk out of school. But by the time I started getting all the facts and realizing what was going on, it encouraged my political knowledge, and it started on a path. And I had friends, older brothers and sisters, and I say, well, what was Vietnam all about? And they say, they tell me about Ho Chi Minh was World War II hero, and the United States went against him all because he was in the communist fold, and so the United States are going to go after a hero, World War II, to their people, all based on Gulf oil, making oil in the Gulf of Tonkin in Southeast Asia, just off the coast of Vietnam. And that kind of stuff started hitting me, and I kind of followed it. I voted for Jimmy Carter, my first election in 1976. I was very happy. Willie Nelson came to the White House, and we knew that marijuana was being smoked at the White House, and it was a sad time for me to notice what, because as soon as we won, I was like, all right, now let's keep going, and let's change things. Let's make marijuana legal for one thing. And what happened was disco came, and classic rock was there, just stadium rock, and I was so glad when finally new wave came, and then punk along with it, and I had been practicing guitar. My mom bought me a guitar because I asked her to start cooking some things that were vegetarian for me when I was 14 and 15 years old, and she said she would do it. She would buy me a guitar, and she'd cook vegetarian if I wrote a song for her. So I started writing a song. Every time I come into the store, I see those chickens by the door. Eating them dead birds really ain't for me. And that's the first lines of the song I wrote. and she bought the guitar, and so I practiced on it when I was 13, 14. So when punk come rolling around 4, 5, 6 years later, I already had some songs, and my first songs were "My Family Was a Little Weird" and "Chicken Squawk," and I played a lot of Bob Dylan things, and I played different things like that. So we were really waiting for the change of music. It was so boring and so stay at this arena rock thing that kind of took over the country, and they just kept pushing Jefferson. And I like the Jefferson Airplane, but the Jefferson Starship and all this old tired stuff. And I was really glad when I all of a sudden started seeing Devo and Elvis Costello and Talking Heads and the Ramones. And then I got hip to the Sex Pistols somewhere there in Austin, Texas in 78, 79. Actually, I picked up Gary Floyd of the Dicks hitchhiking, and he told me about the Sex Pistols.
Wow.
And he was going to San Francisco to see their last show. Was I going to go? And I was like, I didn't even know who they were. And I said goodbye to him. He came over to my apartment and we smoked a joint. And he was telling me all about the Sex Pistols. They played up in Dallas too. And he had gone to see the show in Dallas. And he said, "Oh, you gotta go. You gotta go." And I couldn't change I was going to University of Texas, and I just wasn't, I was just introduced to them. But he went, and then I saw him when he got back, and he said, "Oh, it was great. You should have went. I'm starting a band. I'm going to start a band called the Dicks." And I said, "Okay, I'll start a band called the Stains."
The Dicks.
And that's it. And Dicks and Stains. We started playing together. And first, we were just poster bands. We didn't really have a band yet. We had an idea of what a band should be, and started making flyers. Coming soon, the Dicks. Coming soon, the Dicks and Stains. And sure enough, he put a band together first, and they started playing. And I saw them at Raoul's with the Huns, who was kind of the most famous punk rock band to that time from Austin. Phil Tulsa got arrested when the police came into the punk rock club and told to stop, and he wouldn't stop. And they came on stage and he started screaming, "Eat scum, death." Wow. And very inspiring. And they arrested him and they took him off the stage. And it was kind of my introduction to punk rock. And this was about 1978 or,
wow,
it's something, right after, 77 was when the Sex Pistols came. And I was hooked. I had a poster band, and I started playing around. I was already been playing with this band called the Rejects that were kind of we were playing with some of the members of a band called the Delinquents. And it was very new wave, very that end of the scene. And we first had a female singer, and she was good. Her name was Amy Mann, and we started to play parties, and it was doing good. And then I wrote John Wayne Was a Nazi in 1979, a year later, and nobody could feel like the energy that I was having with it. Like, this is a song that's an angry song. We're not going to sing John Wayne was a Nazi. It had to be John Wayne was a Nazi. It had to have some verve. And the people in the band started breaking apart. Let me tell you, this is a band that played 3 parties. Just feeling our things. There were bigger bands that were playing the clubs, like the Standing Waves and the Huns and Joe King Carrasco and the Skunks. I saw Patti Smith with the Skunks, and that was really great. I held the door open for her at the record store party, and she gave me a kiss on the cheek.
Cool.
And I was just getting sucked into it. And I really loved it, and I was, already had my political thing down, and I was aware of what was going on. The farm workers were trying to organize farm worker union people trying to organize farm workers, and they were becoming found up dead in rivers and streams in Texas, and started realizing, just how for real it was. I'd come from New York, and I grew up in the New York area, And anyway, singing John Wayne, and my guitar player goes, "Yeah, Dave, let's break off and start our own band." And we did, and that was called the Stains. And the Dicks and the Stains, and we played around Austin for a year and a half. And just luckily, as times would be, I mailed a record off to Mickey Creep in San Francisco, who had a magazine called Creep Magazine, and he was Biafra's roommate, and he was out of town, and Biafra broke into his mail because Biafra's a vinyl fetish addict. And he took it, and he played it, and he loved it, and he gave it to me. He showed it to Tim Johanna, Max Rock and Roll, and they both called me up and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "We're waiting for your phone call, and can we come up and play with the Dead Kennedys?" And Biafra arranged it, and sure enough, in 1981, in June 2nd, we drove up with the Dicks. I got the Dicks on the bill to play that gig at the Mabuhay Gardens. It was a gig. It was a tour with 2 gigs, one in San Francisco with the Dead Kennedys and one in Costa Mesa with Black Flag.
Mm-hmm. Dave, we have so many questions for you. There's a whole list of questions.
I can answer a question like, all right, I get it. I'll try to be concise and we'll move on. We can do this in 2 or 3 parts.
Okay.
And the person you met before, just so you know, is Sophie Rumanier from the Elected Officials, who are just a dynamite, hardcore, female-led band that I just happened to be hanging out with here in their house. And I kind of got caught down here during the sequester. And people were telling me it's too dangerous to fly. And this was just, like late February. And I ended up staying down here because every day just seemed worse. And I didn't want to be in that congested airport situation. And I've got a fear of, one of these kind of things where I'm fear of volcanoes going off, fear of asteroids heading to the Earth, fear that a contagious virus is going to sweep the Earth, that we're all going to be zombies. I have that fear already. So I stayed off the plane. I'm here in Austin, Texas, and really enjoying being with my friends here.
Cool. Because you're originally from, MDC is originally from Austin, Texas. Then you guys went to the Northern California. Now, I want to ask you this. A lot of people don't know about this, about Northern California. You were, at the 80s, you were involved with the scene. These bands, Treason, Atrocity, Trial, PLH, Christ on Parade, A State of Mind, Crucifix.
San Francisco and the Bay Area was going off. There were so many bands, and there was Flipper, who were doing that, very cynical, but all different types. And there was Penelope Houston, and there was Toiling Midgets, and then this whole new wave of hardcore hit, and we were in that wave, and we had a head start because our drummer left us, and I brought an old friend of mine down named Al Schultz, and he was like a jazz drummer that loved Billy Cobham and Buddy Rich. He didn't know how to play slow. So I'm showing him John Wayne was an Nazi. He keeps speeding it up. And then all of a sudden, some friends of ours came to the practice, and they said, "We like it fast." And then we, start thinking about it. And then Black Flag came into town, and then DOA, and then Fear. And we realized, we were doing this kind of dead boyish kind of thing. John Wayne was a Nazi, like to play SS. That's how we were doing it, looking kind of all druggy like the Dead Boys. And then all of a sudden we went hardcore.
Yes.
And that's how we fell into it that way. And we were right at the tip, and all the people were like, "How'd you invent that style?" And I look at Al, I go, "We have a drummer that won't slow down." And that's how we got into hardcore.
Yes. But what about during that time in the 80s? There was a short-lived, the peace punk scene, the anarcho peace punk scene in San Francisco and Berkeley. Tell us some information about
Peace, Love, and Happiness. We played this again. There was a place called the Vats. It was kind of like a squat. A couple people paid rent, but everyone else lived there free. and we'd have shows there all the time. And I met the Peace, Love, and Happiness. I met Crucifix. I met people involved in that end of the scene, and I was very interested in it because I wanted to meet Crass, and they all love Crass, and I was very inspired by Crass. You know, early on, one of the 79, 80 Stations of the Cross, and by the time Penis Envy came around, I was just totally hooked. And they were known as pacifists, or pacifists. They were pacifists at the time. They kind of lightened up on it, but they were pacifists. And so the peace punk thing, where the hardcore thing was more, dead cops and
Right.
and Black Flag, and the violence in the pit was a bit much for a lot of people, and I understand that. They just came from a different headspace, and they were the beginnings of peace punk.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a great time. And I remember them. We all hung out at the same soup kitchens. This peace punk generally were people that were going to college or still living with their parents,
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't get to know all of them super well because I was living with the street punks, and that was on the streets of San Francisco, squatting,
Right.
Going for food stamps, going for general assistance, working the system as best we could, so we could be, so we could survive. And I moved from Austin, Texas, to San Francisco back in the day, and we had never ever collected food stamps. I mean, we just got a real big education. And the streets of San Francisco were tough streets. It wasn't the same San Francisco now. It's kind of like Manhattan. Manhattan in the late 70s and 80s was a really tough place.
Right. Speaking of Crass, was MDC the first band from America got signed to Crass, or was it Sleeping Dogs from Northern California got signed to Crass record? Who was first? You were MDC.
I think we were first. We went to the Crass farm in England on our first tour to Europe. We toured with the Dead Kennedys in 1982 in November and December. And Steve Ignorant and Phil Free came to our show. And they said, hey, it's Steve and Phil of Crass. And I couldn't believe it. I go, can we come to the farm? And they said, sure, you can, blah, blah, blah. And when the tour was over, we came back to England, and we went out to visit them on their farm. I'm pretty sure we're the first band on Crass from America. Not that that's all that important. But we maybe the first ones that got to them. And it was a very big experience going to the Crass farm. Met Penny and G and Eve. They were very pacifist, and they kind of like Millions of Dead Cops, and Steve and Phil were like, don't listen to them. Just, they were the younger people in Crass, and they could see the wave of hardcore that was hitting, which involved, Crucifix and on their side of the ocean, Discharge and the Subhumans. They could see that energy was snowballing. And we had a gig with Crass. We never made it. We didn't get into England. There was a time you need working papers to get into England, especially if you look like a band. And we didn't know any of that. We thought we could just go in and act like tourists. But they questioned our drummer, and he let something slip, and we never made it into England it was late 1983 to play with Crass.
Is it true, because of Crass, you had to change your name from Millions of Dead Cops to Multi-Death Corporation?
Well,
is that true? Or
they did not like the name Millions of Dead Cops. Penny was most vocal about this. And
really?
Of course, I'm looking at Penny. He's 10 years older than me. He's on the farm. And he is political hardcore, political music, punk style, without a doubt. The hardcore, was more not hardcore in its feelings, but not hardcore in that loud, hard, tough music like Black Flag, like Circle Jerks, like that, Southern California punk rock, fast, sped up punk rock, middle class, fear. And DOA coined the name hardcore. But Penny was just a hero, and I was like shooken up a little that he didn't like the name Millions of Dead Cops, and he was such a pacifist and blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, we were having a hard time getting into countries. And what happened when we got in country, we got busted in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And they knew we were Millions of Dead Cops, and we got so much hassle every time we went across the border. The crucifix put us on a flyer where, sensationalizing dead cops. It had pictures of cadet policemen graduating the academy, and there was a black tape put over all their eyes, and it said "Future Dead Cops."
Oops. Uh-huh.
And that's the back of the first album. But this was a flyer from the crucifix for which I speak, and it's on their album where they call the police and they want to complain about the show. Like, what are you doing about stopping this show with millions of, I can't say it, dead cops? And the police said, well, we're looking into it, and blah, blah, blah. We were getting a lot of hassle, and it just kind of came, why don't we just be MDC and let MDC be an acronym for everything we're doing?
Uh-huh.
And we'd go back and forth, and and some people just love Millions of Dead Cops so much, probably use the best MDC name.
That's a craziest name, Millions of Dead Cops. Did your shows like got broken up because of the name and stuff?
MDC.
Yeah, Millions of Dead Cops.
That's right. Yes. I have it here too. I have a CD with me. So if we're looking at, for the folks at home, and there's the front, it's a CD. And so I don't know how exactly it happened, but we started just saying MDC on the flyers for the shows, and just to give ourselves less hassle. It's like, instead of saying Dead Kennedys, just say DKs.
Oh, I see.
And instead of saying Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, just say DRI. So that people would know, and you don't got every crazy redneck in the world. And there's a shitload of crazy rednecks still. But back in 1980 and 81, there really was. It was a different country and a different place. I mean, we still have our, Trump people and all that, but, back then, it was amazing. Just walking down the street with a mohawk, people wanted to get in a fight with you. It was a different world. And the same is true with homophobia, how that changed. Like now, 55-60% of people are in favor of gay marriage. Back in 1980, it was 25% or something. So the country has come a long way, even though we've taken this triple umbrella step backwards with Donald Trump. There were a lot of rednecks, just a lot of. There's not to say there's still not a lot, but there were really a lot. And so we put out the Multi-Death Corporation using the MDC moniker, and then we started doing it on a lot of our albums, Millions of Damn Christians, and Millions of Dead Children for the Chicken Squawk, Millions of Damn Christians, as you have in your hand there. And, but then we'd always refer back to it. That's me as Jesus. That's not me as Jesus. That's me as James the Greater on that picture of Millions of Damn Christians you have there. And that was our guitar player, Gordon, as Jesus. We snuck into the museum with the help of the assistant manager, snuck in, put on the robes of the outfit, moved the wax figures. This was at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in San Francisco.
Wow.
And we took that picture of us there with the 12 apostles, and the rest of the apostles were in wax, but the four of us, that's us.
Oh, MDC was really super fast, hardcore. Now back to when you guys were playing in England, did you meet with bands like hardcore bands with like Disorder and Amoebex and all? Did you play with those bands?
We met Amoebex over there. We played with the Subhumans. And we met the Disorder people, and Amoebex was friends with Disorder.
Uh-huh.
And we met Chaos UK, and they were that new crop that came out of 80, 81, 82, because there was this whole other crop that came back 78, 79, punk rockers, and angelic upstarts, I think, were early on. And they were that three-chord oi, and I really like the angelic upstarts, by the way.
Oh,
I
cool.
really
Yeah.
like the Subhumans as well. Everyone I mentioned, I got hard for.
Also, Dave, you did the most amazing project. It was called. You put out this compilation. Tell us about this, the Peace compilation. What year did you put this out? It came with a really thick booklet with
Yes,
tons all
it's
over.
going to get. We're re-putting it out, and it's going to come out on Grimace Records. It's
Uh,
it's out on the internet now, and if you go to Spotify, you can press the button, and it raises money through their playlists. Yes, the Peace Comp. That art is by Dana Smith. It had 52 bands,
uh-huh.
and if you notice, it has the Subhumans, it has Crass, it has.
Unreleased song from Crass. It's not on any album except for the Peace Comp.
Yeah, Conflict.
Right.
I really started putting it together. We went back to Europe in '83, and we toured down to Italy, and we toured to Spain.
Uh-huh.
We went back up to Denmark. We played Germany, and we played. I guess that's it. Besides Netherlands, where we flew into, and it was just an incredible feeling meeting the Italian punk rock scene. It was like we're worlds apart. It's hard to imagine a world without internet, and a world where you just, you can't just go online and look up, Negazione, and all of a sudden you see pictures of them and you hear music of them. There was none of that. We booked through telephones, and everything was communicated through the mail. And so at the end of the tour, we came back, and a lot of the people we met, we realized we wanted to put out an international compilation, and it represented 5 continents. And we did it with I did it with Franco Maras of MDC. Franco passed, and we also did it with I did it with Tim Yohannan, who was just starting out Maximum Rock and Roll, and he was communicating with a lot of bands from around the world, and that's how we found Jism from Japan, and that's how we found we found Mob 47 from Sweden, and we put together this Peace compilation, and it did very well. We gave a lot of money out to a lot of peace groups, a lot of anti-nuclear groups, because we were really pretty convinced that the world was going to blow up in a nuclear bomb. Especially Ronald Reagan became president, and just all the wackiness. We had toured Germany and played Berlin, and Berlin was a divided city and a divided country, with the Cold War going on, and it was so severe. Nobody was smiling, nobody was having a happy day, and you really just felt like, boy, an accident could really just happen, and with stupid people like, Ronald Reagan and his crew, murderous people, and began the economic downfall of the United States. Richard Nixon, the Republicans were always trying to sabotage working people, but Ronald Reagan really opened it up. If you look at Richard Nixon now, for all his sliminess, and he was a slime ball, promising to end the Vietnam War, but not really doing it until 5 years. And Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, that whole cabal, and that whole think tank of people, and the billionaires started those places like the Heritage Foundation, which encouraged all this, Republican, especially the new Republican type of attitude of anywhere ranging from libertarian to, whatever you call Ted Cruz and Donald Trump.
Okay. Dave, we have some, I posted on my Facebook 2 days ago that I was going to interview you, and a lot of people ask you different questions. And also you're live on Instagram right now, and couple people ask questions too. But
Okay.
before we get into the question, I want to ask you this though. The Peace Comp in the 80s, it came with a really thick booklet, the newsprint booklet. It was so informative. Are you guys gonna ever post that online or anything?
We're going to post that. In fact, it's being done right now, and we're going to remake the magazine.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna sell the CD, and the album will come out in 2 months, and everyone will have the magazine. It's a 64-page booklet. Every band on the page everyone got a page, and Franco and I did about 12, 14 maximum rock and roll size print pages. It was like I was doing my college thesis and master's, and getting my master's degree, except I was putting it all together. And we were just talking about how wasteful the money was, the possibility of war, and all the things that you read. I really wanted people to understand where we were coming from. Saying business on parade and missile destroys civilization and corporate death burger and we're listening to Dead Kennedy sing chemical warfare, and just it was really wanted to explain ourselves to the world, and then I wanted to connect the world, and help connect the hardcore and the punk rock scene, and I did my little bit, I think.
Okay. All right, Dave. So these are the questions from, I'm going to go with the Facebook first because I posted on Facebook. This is from Tristan Stringy Carter. He's asking about meeting Crash and what happened with the failed UK tour in early 80s. Weren't meant to play with Crucifix, if I recall correctly.
Well, we played with Crucifix in San Francisco. It wasn't a new thing. And they were kind of like, they were in the peace punk scene. And the peace punk bands kind of played with the peace punk bands, but we didn't believe anything by it. But it really took actually a guy named Joe Target wanting to video both our bands. He said, how about you both play together at the on Broadway, which was the place above the Mabuhay Gardens, big tourist scene spot. Kennedy's used to play and all these other bands. And we got to meet them, and we really liked them. We really hit it off. They had the big spiky hair at the time, and I had a mohawk in the 70s, but I got beat up so much with it that I shaved it because and I just went with a skinhead. And that was before the American skinhead scene went so right wing. First it was it was Rude Boys and reggae, and so I wasn't even necessarily going for that look. I was looking for the kind of look like, I'm a crazy guy. You don't know who I am. I might be a Vietnam vet for all you know. Don't just think because I got a mohawk, I'm a person you can just come up to and hit. And when I was living in Texas at the time, and then just anywhere, so I shaved all my hair, and then I grew this little thing back there. It was kind of like a Krishna tail.
Right.
So my hair was like shaved, and then I had this Krishna tail, like the Hare Krishnas do. And it was like,
I saw it in the video. Yes, I saw that in the video.
And I sported that for like 83 and 84, and then I let it go out for a while, and then I shaved it, and I did different mohawks and different things at different points of my life, but that was my evolution with my hair. I had a mohawk in the late 70s, but I was living in Texas. It was just crazy. I had cops coming up to me and take the button off my jacket. Said, millions of cops. Take out a marker, cross out the dead, and hand me back the button. And said, millions of cops, with the Klan cop pointing his gun at me. And a couple times I actually said, one of these days, we're going to pull you over and bury you in a field, a hole in the field, and no one will ever hear from you again. And I was just like, sir, I just let me think about that and just be on my way. And scary. It was as time went on, Mr. T had a mohawk, and then all these other people had funny haircuts, and it became somewhat more acceptable.
All right. This question is from Tom Stitch from Santa Ana. What do you think of that Sore Throat song About Them, and what was that all about?
The what?
What do you think about that Sore Throat song About Them? So I guess Sore Throat did a song about MDC.
I don't know. What was the name of the band?
Sore Throat, Sore Throat. They're like a kind of like
Oh
a
yeah. I
grime.
don't. I guess I did not hear that, or my fragile mind is not remembering.
Uh,
You know, we were a lot of people would take shots at us for different reasons because we were, you know, we were too political for the hardcore scene. We were too violent for the, you know, for the peace punk scene, you know, or scene, you know, and the whole scene was this, you know, hard slam dancing that, you know,
uh-huh.
you associate with that era. Henry Rollins ending up becoming the singer, and you know, and you'd play a show like we played with the Subhumans, and we played with Discharge at the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, and it was a big, gigantic boxing ring that held 20,000 people,
Right. Uh-huh.
and it was very violent. You know, the LA punks. You know, I was used to the Austin punk scene, which was a nice, medium, small scene. Everyone knew each other. Everyone liked each other. You know, people were competitive, but it wasn't like, you know, street gangs out of LA where the Suicides wanted to fight the Lads, who wanted to fight FFF, you know, all at your show. You know, I'd have all these tough guys coming up to me going, "We got your back, Dave." And I'd be like, "Oh, man, you
I
know, you leave my
remember.
back alone." But, it's always been that kind of way. You know, the visceralness of our lyrics and the name of our band attracted an element. You know, it attracted skinheads. It attracted, you know, people that were just full of agita.
Mhm.
And that was also part of MDC, you know, becoming out of Millionaire Cops, so we could be more intellectual and say multi-death corporation. You know, so you have to think about, you know, why are we the multi-death corporation? And, you know, you and I know why, but, you know, the kids on the street in 1982, 83, 84, you know, it was a real growing pains, you know, of the scene. A lot of the kids in punk rock were 15, 16, 17 years old. That's why I'm just amazed how I'm hanging out with Nikki Sicky from Verbal Abuse, and they're like 57 years old. And I'm older. You know, I'm one of the older ones. You know, a lot of the people that came up, you know, with punk rock, people got that first record when they were 15 back in 1979, 80. And, you know, so by the time they're 18, 19, it's 1982. And, you know, just hardcore, it was a younger scene. It was less intelligent. There was more fighting on the dance floor. The energy was raw and pure. There was just something to be said for it. But the violence was really pretty incredible. You know,
Yes.
people romanticize that era, but a lot of people got their, you know, their heads kicked in.
I remember seeing you at Fender's Ballroom a couple of times.
Yeah, that was less hectic than the Olympic
Yes.
Auditorium, but you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes.
If you've been to the Fender's Ballroom,
But
it would just be ongoing.
yes,
You know, it was like a big game of Ring Alivio, but you know they were fighting harder.
it was like a Mad Max, almost
Yeah.
like Mad Max time.
You know, we went to L.A. and we got attacked. We were just walking around the streets of Hollywood, and these gang of guys that call themselves the Droogies. They dressed like the Clockwork Orange guys.
Oh, yeah, there were a gang called the Droogs. Yes.
The Droogs.
Yes.
And we're fighting them up. There's 4 of us, and there's about 8 of them, 9 of them. All of a sudden, this big guy comes there. End up being the guy from Circle One.
Right.
His name was Bill, and he passed away as well. But he guys said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And then he said, "Well, we're Million Day Cops." I go, "You're Million Day Cops," and then they started chasing away the Droogs, and that's how I came. It was a lot of violence, you know. It was really,
Yes.
and in England as well, the skinheads and all that. You know, just hanging around Kings Road, you get your ass kicked. And but it was exciting days because things were just changing so fast. We were coming out of this crazy world where homophobia was thick and ugly, and racism still existed, and people would use the N word and all the shitty words,
And the F word.
and and
The F
a lot of socialization, a lot of education, and I felt like we were part of that. Where punks would get with us, and all of a sudden Ian MacKay's trying vegetarianism, and all of a sudden, people were being more conscious, and it was unique days in 82, 83, 84. And the Peace Comp did come out in 84. It had 52 bands. And we raised over $10,000 with it. And we're hoping to do another round of money if the sales go good. The pre-sales are going pretty good. So I think we'll have some more money. And we're going to give it to like direct, mutual direct action. Mutual Aid Disaster Relief is the name of the group, actually. Mutual Aid Disaster Relief. And they're the kind of people that came to New Orleans after the flooding, and they brought tools and drummels and pumps and they helped people to fix their houses back up without the help of the government, because the government wasn't doing shit. Just like they're not doing shit during this coronavirus thing, just like, Donald Trump was just awful. And so, and just like you see Hurricane Katrina, those people on top of the buildings waving the white T-shirts, hoping the helicopter is going to come down for them. The helicopter is not going to come down for any of us.
Okay. All right. We have a lot of questions, but two of them are kind of like challenging questions for you. I don't even know about this. Chris Lowe from England. I think Chris Lowe's from England. It says, ask him if producing bandana to be given to homeless people featuring the MDC logo branding isn't just highly crass and exploitive marketing.
What was that?
Chris Lowe says, ask him if producing a bandana to be given to homeless.
Yes. We are right now, we're having a contest where we're asking people to come up with a new name for MDC. And everything from more dead from coronavirus to, Donald, millions of Donald cunts. Yeah, was one of the suggestions. And I'm having a contest. When we win it, we'll use it. And right now, when I decide which one is the best, and I'm having an election with my Facebook site, and when we decide one is the best, and that'll be probably by the end of the week, we're printing them on bandanas that we're handing out to homeless people so they can have protection against spreading the coronavirus or getting it themselves. I started talking about how it's very rough on people who don't have a home to protect themselves, period. But during coronavirus, it's, what do you do when you have diarrhea and you're homeless? It's really pretty horrible. And the whole fear of the fact there's no face masks and no proper things and no testing yet here in the United States is still not happening. So we're going to hand out bandanas, and it's, it's just making people think about it, homeless people, helping people. And we're going to give some aid to the homeless people as well by giving them bandanas, and that's part of the MDC mission. Is generally 10% of our earnings goes to various groups that we're for. And right now, I support PETA. I'm pretty much an animal rights activist, radical vegetarian, World Wildlife Fund, and in the past we've given to the African National Congress and Food Not Bombs. Just it's part of our deal as a part of our music and celebrating life, to look behind you and give contributions and raising money to help good causes, and for everyone to carry that in their heart.
That's
You know, like
that's.
we're not just supposed to eat the whole piece of pizza. Make sure the person next to you gets a bite.
I'm glad you're doing that because they're not letting people in the grocery stores or market without a mask or any cover thing. I'm glad you're doing that though, Dave. That's awesome. Next question is from Sean Henderson. He's Sean Henderson's all good questions. Why he let Tony Slug BGK spew Islamophobic nonsense on one of his posts a couple years ago. I seem to be the only one calling him on his anti-Turkish and Moroccan immigration in Europe remark.
Yeah. Um, your accent throws me off a little, and I'm doing this on a phone, and it's only allowing it to have so much volume. But I know you're asking something about. What are you asking about?
I'm just reading what he wrote. He says why he let Tony Slug BGK spew Islamic nonsense on one of his posts a couple years ago.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. You know, you know, you know, I'm like everybody. There's certain things that to do with, you know, the cultures of, you know, the Arabic and Muslim world that, you know, you can die for making fun of Muhammad or, you know, like that, you know, that I'm scared and I have my own little bit of xenophobia, you know, like, but I'm always trying to break down the walls and just realize people are people and you know, I'm not sure what the question is actually saying. I know he's referring to Islamic Islam Islamic phobia.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
From BGK or
Now, I understand having a fear of another culture that feels like it's not applicable to be you, but you know the way it's been turned around, I don't like I don't want to be a hater. You know, I have no interest in that. So I'm always trying to bridge the gaps. And we tried to get into Turkey a couple of years back, and
Mhm.
they were having some political problems, and they just froze us at the border and told us to go away. And
Mhm.
we lost our one chance to play in a Muslim country. That we have played in Indonesia and Malaysia. So those are two. Uh, they're great Muslim cultures, by the way. Really big punk rock scene in Indonesia. It's a punk rock country.
Uh-huh. All right. Next one is from Angie McCravey. She said, asking about coming to Detroit and my Zoe singing Chicken Squawk with him on stage while he held her was such a cute moment. I guess Angie's kid was on stage with you singing Chicken Squawk in Detroit. Do you remember that?
You know, I've been to Detroit 30, 40 times,
Uh-huh.
and I play Chicken Squawk every time. I'm not aware of which time, though we've played acoustically and you know, and a lot of times everywhere. If there's a kind of show where people can bring their kids and it's outside,
Uh-huh.
uh, the people come up to me and say, "Oh, Chicken Squawk's their favorite song," and I bring them up on stage and put them on my shoulders, and we do the buck 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 buck, and you know, uh, and it sounds like it was one of those kind of moments where, uh, you know, just I wrote Chicken Squawk very young. I started writing it pretty young with a couple friends, and it's to me, it's almost like a song for children. It's for the children of inside of all of us.
I
You know,
also I also remember, before we go to the next question, I also remember your son used to be on stage with you, singing with you when he was little. I think that was at the Bikini Kill show when you played with Bikini Kill. It's somewhere in San Francisco at a warehouse. And your son came up and sang with you. I remember
oh
that.
yeah, that was my drummer's son, and yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he went on a few tours with us. He went to Europe, and uh, his mom couldn't watch him when he was like 7, 8, 9, and we took him on tour. He went to Europe with us for 4 months, and all kinds of stuff. But he would sing for sure on stage with me 2 or 3 songs every night. He he uh, he has a he has his own restaurant in Portland now. It's called Jurassic. It's called Jurassic Eats,
Wow.
and it actually won the. It was in the top 5 for new trailer food, trailer food
Mhm,
stand. You know how people have these trailers that they sell food out of.
mhm. That's cool.
And
Okay, next one is from Canada, Comrade Black from Canada. He's, oh man, I love to hear where their early influence were coming from when they first formed. They seemed so much more anarcho-punk than all the other American bands of the time. Were they aware of those bands out of the UK before they picked up the instruments, or was that not until later? I'd also like to hear their thoughts on the trajectory of the queer LGBTQ movement and how it's done in a recent year from where it was back then, both in the case of queer punks and outside the punk scene.
well, there's a few questions in there. You know, let me go for what sticks in my head. Yeah, there was a lot of homophobia back then, and trans people always and still are going through a lot of struggle to be who they are. Uh, I support and love trans people. MDC's kind of band that has 5, 7, 8 kind of people, trans people,
Uh-huh.
uh, coming to our shows. And we lived in San Francisco, and we had a nice following. And I knew Kitty Litter, like all these drag queens who were working and performing. They were performers, and sometimes we were in the same bill together. Being in San Francisco, we worked with the Yippies, and Dennis Perone was a very big gay activist and gay out human being. He's passed just fairly lately, but yeah, it was always part of my thing, that I to 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 support the feelings inside of myself that are not like 100% straight. I feel like we're humans and we have different feelings, and and the word that I relate to is fluidness. In certain fluid situations, I can be this, and in certain other situations, I can be that, and I don't have to live as one or the other. Like, um, so I am all for lesbian, gay, lesbian, and trans people rights. One of the best shows we played. When I say best, I don't mean the best speakers. I don't mean the best crowd. I meant the most warmth. We played in Bulgaria 3 years ago, and
Uh,
Bulgaria is a very right wing, ex-communist state, and there it's very, gay days get attacked. I don't know if you there's a they're they're hunting down gay activists in Russia.
oh yeah.
Uh, they find out where they live, and they put out the information, and just and then that person turns up dead a month later. Very scary, very sad. We played Bulgaria. Kids were so glad for us to be there. There was so much warmth at the end of the show. At the end of the show, they literally sat down, and we played our hour set, and I'm thinking, all right, go home. I gotta drive to Romania tomorrow. I got a 10-hour car ride. But I realized it just meant so much that we were there. To me, it was like one of the realest punk rock shows I played in the last 5 years. You know, uh, you know, I love punk rock bowling. I love rebellion. I love big crowds.
Cool.
It's an honor to play in front of thousands of people. But the real purpose of punk rock is to play for people who really need it. Really, really, it's life and death.
Mhm.
And so that was that part of the question. I forgot the beginning part of the question already.
We could come back to it. We have so many questions.
Yeah,
Um,
and just so you know,
yes,
maybe we can come back and do this tomorrow or the next day.
yes, yes.
I didn't know. Usually interviews are a half hour and blah 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 blah. And sounds like you do have a lot of stuff to ask me, and I just like to break it up. And I'm around. Like, I'm not going out. I'm sequestered.
Okay, yes, yes. I want to ask you my questions now. I read your book. Your book was really heart touching, but I was so shocked. So many of your friends or people you know died of from drugs and other stuff. It just blew my mind. I never read a book with so many.
It goes on and on.
Yes, yes.
More now than ever. I a high school friend, African American friend named Frecky Mickens. He passed to the coronavirus.
Oh wow.
Just the other day, my best friend from high school died 5 years ago with lung cancer. I mean, I'm getting to that kind of age where that stuff happens more often. But a nice, sweet kid from a band called Noogie, who I really love in Dallas. They're kind of like a young Op Ivy, a Texas Op Ivy. Really, really funny, characters. They're attractive. People like them, and they do ska, and they do lots of different things. And he just passed, Nick, the drummer, and some of it was self-inflicted. Some of it is not self-inflicted. People are natural causes. All those kind of things. Life is precious. It's like I mentioned, Tim Yohannan from Max and Rock and Roll. You may not have seen me if it wasn't for Tim Yohannan. He got us out to California. We stayed at his apartment. I'm on the cover of his first magazine.
Yes,
He
that's
gave
right.
us that big bump up. He shared my record with Jello Biafra. I could have been like a lot of people, done my band for 3, 4, 5 years, live in a small town like Austin, Texas,
Yes.
and decided I wanted to become whatever I wanted to become.
And it blew my mind in the book I was reading. You guys were playing all these benefit shows and regular shows, but while doing tours and everything, still playing shows. How come you always ended up eating at soup kitchens and like squatting and stuff? How come you guys didn't do regular shows for yourself? Why was it always benefits and fundraisers?
Well, we're blessed where our record has got what you call shelf life. So I get a check in the mail, but it's not like we're rich. We're working class, and part of it is, I almost died 5 years ago of a blood disease, and I really decided I wanted to do this. I didn't want to do it part time. I didn't want to do it, one tour a year. I really wanted to do it, and we've been playing like about 140 gigs a year for the last 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
This year probably we won't. And people are asking me, "Oh, it must be so hard for you to sit in one place." And actually, between you and me and your readership, it's nice for me to be able to catch my breath. I'm sorry about all the pain and the death, and homeless people having to deal with diarrhea and fever, without even having a place to be, and all the people that are dying. You read these stories of doctors who died. There's a woman doctor who committed suicide here from New York, and I'm originally from New York. I know there's a lot of pain involved, but on this personal level, I'm kind of glad I'm not playing so much. I'm just kind of like being in one place. It actually feels good, and I'm with some people I really like, and I'm not always running to go on tour, and that's how it was going. I'd be on tour for a month, and I'd be off tour for a month, and on tour for a month, then off tour for a month, and being on tour is almost like being in outer space in a rocket ship, except you're on Earth. Everyone you leave home, from your boyfriend to your girlfriend to your dog to your cat, everyone's moving and changing. You're kind of like in a spaceship just traveling above the Earth, and you're having your experiences, and then you come home and everyone's changed. Everything is just moved around. And anyway, it's nice to be in one place, just between you and me, so don't tell anybody. You can share it with your readers, but it's been kind of a cool thing just to sit in one place and really just be at ease and not so be on the go all the time.
Yeah. The thing is, yeah.
I really do love my life.
Yes.
And I've had an exciting life. I've been to Japan 3 times. I've been to Russia. I've been to Brazil. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Indonesia. I've been to Thailand. It all just feeds itself. And I love those new experiences. And I'm a sucker for some 16-year-old kid who tells me they just starting out to be a vegetarian because they heard the song Chicken Squawk. And, what can I say to them to, give them encouragement or help them through it? And I just want to hug them so much. It's, uh, I'm happy that a piece of me gets translated, my communication, the things I sing about, my
Mhm.
emotions, that I'm in there somewhere. I'm not quite Barbara Streisand, and I'm not quite, you know, uh, Paul McCartney or, even Billy Idol, but, not Billy Idol, but Billy Bragg,
Yes.
who's a political folk, or, folk rocker. But go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I read your book in 2 days, and I let my friends borrow it. That book was so heart touching. It just blew my mind. I think all the MDC fans need to read that book because all the stuff you did and all the struggles you went through, and people won't understand you until they read your book. It was really heart touching. I read it in 2 days. It was
Yeah. Yeah, I was very lucky. I had a grandmother and a mother
uh-huh.
really, really loved me. And my stepfather really loved me. They just like, and, like my mom was like, write a song that's going to change the world. She always wanted me to, you know, rise and be a spokesperson and change the world. She didn't want me to, she didn't want plain, she wanted me to go for it and try my hardest.
Mhm.
And it really helped me become who I am. And
Mhm.
and she's passed, but it give me that, having a good parent and a good guardian is such a leg up in life.
Mhm.
And I know everyone doesn't have the leg up I do, which makes me have empathy for people and
Mhm.
realize even people that are foul mouthed and they say the N word or they're homophobic I try to reach inside them.
Mhm.
I tried to reach inside them and remind them uh, that we're all people, and black, brown, red, white, and it doesn't matter who you're attracted to. It
Mhm.
just it matters. What you have in your heart. How much kindness you have, how much empathy, how much care, how much and that's what really counts. Like not how cool your walk looks, or all your studs, or even my new animal front T-shirt or something like that, which is a cool T-shirt I often wear, and it actually kind of ran out of me, turned into a rag. But just I hate to use the word. I mean, blessed. Like yeah, it's an overused word, and Christians kill it. But I had something smiling at me a bunch of times in my life from somewhere in the cosmos that gave me the ability to become who I am and to, so when the bad brains start telling me Gary Floyd is a blood clot faggot who deserves to die,
Mhm.
I could
Oh,
just look at him and say, he said that to me in 1982,
mhm.
and I could just say, you're wrong. I don't care if you're HR from the Bad Brains.
Mhm.
I don't care you're a big band and now you're not going to take me on tour. I don't care. I'm not going to shut my mouth. I'm a punk rocker. Punk rockers speak truth to power and don't swallow anybody's bullshit, whether it's Donald Trump's or or a popular punk rock band singer, and and I'm glad I could be that person because it was a big thing in '82, and a lot of people were like didn't want to talk to me or afraid to be, we were too political for many people,
Right,
but
right.
just like we were talking about gay marriage, things changed. And,
Yes.
and now, a lot of things I was saying 20, 30, 40 years ago are pertinent to today. And so I have people that I've known for a long time who aren't very political all of a sudden
Um,
write me or come up to me and shake my hand and go, you were right. You were right about all this stuff 30, 40 years ago. You were right. And I go, well, I had a good mama, and a good grandma and a good dad, and they steered me right, and I dedicate the book to my mom,
mhm.
and I love her. I mean, wherever she is, You know, like
That's cool. Also, Dave, speaking of Dicks, what happened to the singer from the Dicks?
he lives in San Francisco. We were just in touch the other day. We were
Is he
maybe planning to do some Dick's reunion shows, but you know,
oh,
his health is a little
oh,
dodgy, and you know, and he's trying to get a little bit better. We want to be part of a Dick's reunion and play like 4 or 5 Texas shows. And he is a great guy. Gary Floyd, one of my favorite people ever. He's another one of those people. If it were not for him, I may not be here right now. You know, like
oh,
back in Austin, Texas,
uh-huh.
the only gig we could get was with the Dicks. You know, the kind of one. There's an old video of us playing. It was in the Dicks' backyard. You know, we just got to be very close, and I still love him. You know, I know he has love for me, and I learned so much from him. You know, right down to I remember seeing back in 1979 or 80. Some poor person came up to us, and all the punks are there, and we're all just being kind of punks. And this guy goes, "I haven't eaten. Can I have $1? Does anyone have $1?" And we're all just like, just all kind of looking at him. And Gary reached right in his pocket, gave him $1.
Wow.
And you know, it stuck with me. It stuck with me. I'm on tour now. Someone comes up to me and says, "I'm hurting," even if they're not from the punk world.
Mm-hmm.
I try to give them a piece of my, Hostess cupcake or whatever I might have, or a dollar bill or 3, and just say, take care, man. Hope you make it, and wish you well. Pay it forward is a good one.
Mm-hmm. Also, Dave, before this happened, you had some kind of project going on with Keith McHenry from Food Not Bomb, but it got canceled, right? Because of the.
Yeah, we were going to do their 40th anniversary
Uh-huh.
show May 24th in a park in Santa Cruz, California. But of course, it's gotten called off. But
Uh-huh.
he's still out there doing it, serving meals. They got chapters around the world. He's a great guy. He's
Yes.
the real deal.
So that got canceled. So when everything is over, what's the plans for MDC?
Oh, MDC's going to go back on tour and play and put out records and make music. And I'm going to try to hug as many people I think I want to hug. and I'm going to go back to life as I do it. I'm a punk rocker, and I'm a musician, and I'm a vocalist, and an artiste, and a book writer, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm doing it now, but I'm sequestered here at home. I don't want to go out and risk getting sick and there are people doing it. And I'm going to stay here right now in Texas where they're really not prepared. Austin, they decided people could eat in restaurants again and have public gatherings. And they're crazy. This thing's going to come back 2 and 3 times. Till everyone is immunized, it's not safe to tour. And
Yes,
they might have a chance, they might have immunization for sale over the border in Mexico. Maybe I'll go so I don't get sick, but I don't want people getting sick at my show because other people come.
Right.
So it seems like we're sequestered for a year or so, and I'll do it. I got a great lover, and they like making music as much as I do. And they make music, and they make art, and they make films, and I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Just be a human being that likes punk rock music, culture, and politics of the heart. That humanism.
Oh, Dave, how many times have you guys been to South America?
We have been to South America one time. We've been to Central America a different time. We were planning to go this December.
How's the punk scene there?
It seems like it's not going to happen.
When you went there, how's the punk scene there compared to America?
Unbelievable. Brazil is a great country. Argentina's got a good scene. Colombia. They all got little scenes. Argentina. But Brazil is another one of these countries like Indonesia. I'm in a back alley down some street. I got off the tour bus, and I'm like a block away from everything. I see this 9-year-old kid wearing a Poison Idea T-shirt.
Wow.
It was a gun with Tiny Tim, with a gun in his mouth, and it said "Feel the Darkness."
Wow.
It's a punk rock country.
What country has the most friendliest punk rock scene?
Well, Indonesia is very friendly, and Malaysia is very friendly. Thailand, they're so happy to see a person of my complexion, caring about their country. And, they kind of know I'm not making a lot of money going there. We're going because people are there. And I heard there's a scene. I want to go and see it. I really have a big heart for Indonesia and Thailand. I like Japan. I like Japanese people. I might not want to be on the Baton Death March, but there's something about how polite they are and kind, and you can leave your guitar outside your house and you come back the next day, it's still there. It's like there's a certain amount of dignity in your personal respect for yourself. Now, there's something else in Japanese culture with Shintoism versus the Buddhist. I'm much more Buddhist than Shintoism. Shintoism is what the emperor was, kind of like, I'm God on earth, anything I do is great. And it's kind of an elitist, kind of racial kind of way of looking at the world. But I really like I like Finland. I have never been to play in Iceland. I'd like to go there. I heard it's nice. I really like Britain. I really like Ireland. I like Scotland. I just have fun there. Maybe it's a little easier because, they speak English. Even though the Gaelic is the natural tongue, but everyone speaks a little English. But everywhere, it's just been amazing. Where I go, there's people there and they're excited, and I represent something of free thinking and be as you are. Adopt a punk rock hairstyle, attitude, lifestyle. And, I like it everywhere. I just, you never know. I really like playing all ages shows. Those are my favorite. I mean, I love playing, big things and, like punk rock bowling. We played some big bar there and played for 1,000 people with Poison Idea and Slapshot and some other bands. But I always try to play at least 3 to 5 all age shows, and I love it when there's generations of people in the crowd. Cool. A lot of women bring their son to the show or daughter to the show.
I see that.
They might be like 12 or 14 or 16. Right. And they're right at that age, and I love it all. I really do. I really do. I like Canada. I like Mexico's got a gigantic punk rock scene, another punk rock country. And
I heard it's a capital of the punk rock or something in the world. Mexico.
Yeah, and we have a real in with Chicano young Mexican American young people. Whereas white people. Some are punks, but that's a fraction. In the Spanish, Chicano, Mexican American communities, maybe 50% are into punk. And so, it makes me love Southern Arizona, Southern California, Southern Texas. We played Harlingen, Texas, down by the border. People come across the border, come see us. And obviously, there's part of me that likes people especially people that hear what I'm saying and are affected by it. I can get sick of the human race as much as anybody. People got to eat meat. People got to do all these things that I'm not into, and then even punk rockers, but I'm enough of a social character where if there's a good energy and good communication possibilities, I'm okay with it. And there's part of me that's willing to share what I've gained in my experience in the 60 plus years of life I've had on this planet. What happened to me in 1975? What happened to me at this punk rock show with Crucifix or whatever. And if someone's interested, why not share it with them? I'm not so over people where I'm misanthropic. I still got love in my heart, and
Yes.
I want to credit my mom with that.
Okay. Oh, what was your most funnest show you ever played? The most funnest memory
Fun
show?
shows. There's a lot of them. I talk about it in the book. Let me think. We played San Francisco in '83 at Dolores Park, which is a big park in San Francisco. We played with the Dead Kennedys and the Contractions
Uh-huh.
back in '83, and it was just fun to see punks with hippies, with gay people, with New Agers, with backpackers, with all kinds of people. I like those kind of shows where it's not just the punk rock ghetto, where there's an array of people. So, we played the Rock Against Reagan things,
Oh, I
and
saw a picture of
you know,
those. Those are cool.
and we played where we played. I like playing big parks when they're outside and it's
Mm.
free, you know. And that happens from time to time nowadays. Let's see what was going to happen. We were going to play with Food Not Bombs in the park for free in Santa
Uh-huh.
Cruz. That would have been a lovely, great show. It was like mommies, babies, old hippies, young hippies, punkers of all kinds, and those are fun shows. Things happen at different shows that could be fun, anyways. And I talk about them in the book. We're playing some show in Berlin. The cops came in, and the cops in Berlin weren't so violent like American cops. And this cop came all the way up to the stage,
Uh-huh.
and he was like telling me, "You have to stop playing now." And I took his hat and I put it on, and I sang a song,
Uh-huh.
and the crowd went crazy. And at the end of the song, I threw the hat, and that was just a fun thing to do. I got to take the piss out of authority. But I gotta say, they were pretty nice cops. Not all German cops, mind
Uh-huh.
you, but they didn't carry guns. And the whole idea of not carrying a gun is, I like that. I'm so sorry that our society's gotten to the point where there's millions of guns, and everything's done with guns, and they shoot people dead.
Mhm.
Part of the reason I'm in Millions Dead Cops, they shot a friend of mine in high school. In
Oh.
college, when I was going to college. His name was Tate Bryan. It's in the book.
Uh-huh.
And he went out to go steal some Quaaludes from a drugstore. He heard he could drop into this place and steal, and just he died for 50 Quaaludes.
Wow.
Got shot dead by the police in Tampa, Florida, in 1975. And I was hanging out with my drummer,
Uh-huh.
who's still the drummer of the band, Auschwitz.
Yes.
And like our friend got killed by the police.
Oh.
And so we're thinking of names for the band. Million Dead Cops. They just kind of like it fit. And we were playing these shows in L.A. where the cops were beating up all the punks outside, and we played this show in Austin, Texas, where the cops were beating up the anti-Ku Klux Klan people. And that was the one where we were throwing rocks at the Klan. We had 300 punks. We were all throwing rocks, and they all ran away. They all ran away, and they ended their march. And the headline in the paper the next day was "Punk Rockers chase Ku Klux Klan
Mhm.
off their march." And it was like,
Wow.
yeah, it was good, and just is, some cops can be nice, like it helps, if you're the same skin color, or if there's a certain kind of something you're able to talk about something and become common ground.
Right.
But, and that's what I try to do. I was going into Turkey, and I had the man at the border, and I'm talking to him like, "Why won't you let me in?" Obviously, his higher up said, "We don't want foreigners in the country right now."
Mhm.
There was a gay day going on in Turkey that day. It was a Sunday in the summer, and a lot of upheaval in Turkey. The guy's really clamping down. A guy named Erdogan,
Mhm.
and He's a real creep. And at the end, this guy just said, "You have to wait here. Wait, you gotta wait here." And he made us wait for like 5 hours. And he goes, I go, "Well, we're gonna go. It's too late to drive to the show." And he goes, and the border guard said to me, the captain at the border guard said, "You should really come back to our country when it's not all this trouble." Without all, because he was telling me he liked me, and I love those moments when you break down the walls of what separate us.
Yes, I agree.
Just those moments. I read about it in the book as well, where we were playing a show in Russia in 1992, and we're in Kaliningrad, which is an old submarine base town that's in between the Baltic states. And we're playing this old communist auditorium, and the kids are all pent up, and they're going crazy. They're really just going crazy. And they start pushing the cops, and they're fighting back and forth. And there's so much fighting going on between the 50 Union guys that were protecting the club and angry at this Western influence of rock and roll that was changing. And they're really scared about the future of their society, the future of what was happening economically, with Gorbachev gone, and at the time Yeltsin was in power. And then I started to talk on the microphone, and they wouldn't stop fighting. I was, "Hey, everyone, stop. And I started just singing the Internationale. So come, brothers and sisters, the struggle carries on. The International." And immediately, the Union big burly guys that were like protecting the club, and they were the bouncers, kind of like, they stopped and just looked at me. And then the kids stopped. And then within 7 seconds, you could hear a pin drop. Like everyone just, stopped. And then I said, I had a Russian speaker come on stage, and I said, "Translate this for me." I said, "I really didn't come here to watch people fight. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of fear about what the future holds. And everyone, and my fans are excited because you're excited about what maybe the future holds. But the last thing I want to do is watch you fight. Please don't fight." And then everyone just chilled out. It was like one of those moments where, Moses parting the sea, like, not that I'm Moses, or not that I can part a sea, but sometimes just words can get people to like tap back into their better self. It's almost angels, like Lincoln, appeal to the nature of our best selves.
Yeah, I noticed that too, because on your one of the live album, I forgot which one it was, you care about your audience. When there's a fight, you would say, "Hey, stop doing that," or "Stop."
Yeah. Well, I've always been conscious of, slam dancing's supposed to be energetic.
Yes.
It's supposed to be get rid of some of your angst. But when people are just out there being rough, I feel like I'm the lifeguard in the swimming pool. Like, it's not like tough noogies. It's like, "Hey, you, what's your deal?" And and you put people on the spot. A lot of times they'll threaten you, and then generally, they get pushed away, or the crowd lets them know, "Get the fuck out of here." Now there's a collective experience, because all of us one-on-one don't want to fight a bunch of big tough guys, but all of a sudden, a few of the big tough guys realize they're gonna have a whole room full of people to deal with. All of a sudden, they get it's not all for nothing, and they, we will stick up for ourselves and protect our interests.
That's cool.
And these kids are my interest.
Yes. Oh, I got to tell you a story before we go too, because this interview went over. But Michael Zinzin, may he rest in peace. But Michael Zinzin, he was in the Los Angeles Black Panther. Then later on, Michael Zinzin, and he was in a group called Coalition Against Police Abuse. he told me that he was at your show, and you guys were doing some kind of benefit a long time ago. It was MDC and Atrocity doing some kind of benefit for Coalition Against Police Abuse. I think it was in Northern California. He was a former Black Panther. He saw you guys, MDC. Do you remember, Michael?
I do kind of remember something like that, an Atrocity show.
Yes.
We've done a lot of benefits through the years, and you know, it is great to hook up with people and to do things, you know, that have a higher consciousness and that help a community.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, last year, 2 years ago, we did Punk the Vote, and we registered people and gave them information, you know, and we got emails, and I wrote to them and said, if you vote, I'll give you a sticker. So people wrote me and said they voted. I reminded them to vote. Some people brought 10 people. I sent them a T-shirt. You know, you bring 25, I'll send you a hoodie. I want to see our planet evolve and become a better place.
That's
for
cool.
us to be punk rockers and human beings. And sometimes you gotta, you know, sometimes everything falls in place and it really works out. It seems that way.
Wow, Dave, thank you so much.
You know, we're gonna come back and talk in a day or two. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yes, MDCPunkOfficial.com. Buy the book. Yes, you got the book.
That's our thing. If people want to write or, you know, blah, blah, blah. I also, we have a Facebook page at MDC Million Dead Cops. I'm Dave Dictor. I've got a page. I can't become your friend because I've got that 5,000 limit.
Yes.
But you can like my page and then you get my feed. You're on my, you know, you're on my feed, so to speak. Enjoy life, everybody. You know, it's a pandemic, but be the best person you want to be. Be the change that you want, you know, as Mahatma Gandhi once said. And you know, it was trying to push the ball of humanity a little further. So it's a little more love and a little less like we're apes that fell off a tree fighting for coconuts, you know, like a little more like we're humans and we're trying to make something good happen out of our life and out of this planet.
Yes.
And share it with the elephants and the, you know, the orangutans and all those, you know, the whales and all those mammals that are all the animals. You know, support wildlife, just have consciousness. You know, sounds like a big word, but it just means, you know, treat others like the way you want them to treat yourself. Basic golden rule stuff.
Yes. And also, folks who are watching this on YouTube, you got to get his book. I read it in 2 days. It's one of those books. Well, this is not it. It's one of those books.
What's the name of it?
I let my friend borrow it. I forgot, but it's one of those books you don't want to put it down because it was so like every page was like really interesting and all that.
There's a lot of, you know, the information's there. You know, it's just all of us pulling together to do it. And, you know, it's we have to do it. We have no choice, you know, or there won't be a good human life happening on this planet in 20, yes. 40, 60 years. And right now it's, you know, we have a certain amount of freedom and blah, 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 but still it's falling into the garbage can and people that control the economic interests, they want all slaves to fall in line. And we have to fight the power as NWA said, and as you know, lots of different people say, you know, do the right thing, you know, like enjoy life. And this is part one.
Okay.
We'll have part two coming up, so we'll be back within a week here, and we'll be doing this. And we could do a couple of, you know, one me every half hour for a month, or you know, we can do it.
Sorry for everybody. I couldn't get your question and stuff. Sorry about that. We'll do it next time. But Dave, I'm gonna keep in touch with you on Facebook. Thank you very much. You take good care of yourself, and you have a lot of my respect and everything.
Thank you, and keep doing what you're doing. You're giving me a place to like shine, you know. And so together we're shining, and hopefully other people will be inspired, and they'll be part of the big wheel of life that, you know, just keeps helping us all move forward towards a better world, you know. And just like homophobia and bag bashing was all terrible, you know, in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And it just got better and better and better. And we just got to do that with everything, whatever, you know, where they're picking on the other, you know, picking on the brown person or the, you know, the person who prays this way or whatever it is, who they sleep with. You know, we got to get over that. You know, we're human beings. We're one people, and we all bleed red, as they say, and enjoy your life, you know, and I'll see you in a week or something. We'll talk and we'll do this again. Why not?
Long live MDC.
Oh, that's very nice. And up the punks and yeah, enjoy life. And yeah, you know, thanks. Look for our record out there. Our last one was called Mein Trump. And boy, we were right again.
Millions of dead cops. Millions of fucking dead cops.
Yeah. Kill the cop and yourself, and hopefully the rest will follow.
All right, Dave. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye out there.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.